and gentlemen, welcome to RE in Real Time, episode 15. Here is your host, Forrest and Lonnie.
Good morning, Forrest. How are you?
How you doing? It's a pretty big day today. We've got a big shot in the audience.
We really do. We have Charis Moreno and VP of NextHome. And very excited to have you here today. Thanks for traveling to Northern Virginia.
She came from like California or something, right?
She did. Yeah.
Wow.
That was a long haul.
It's not where I'm from, though.
No. Where are you from?
Beaumont, Texas.
There you go.
Houston, really. And then, no one knows where Beaumont is, so now they can look it up.
Hey, so that's cool. So, what now? Was it the job that took you to?
No, I graduated high school, joined the military, got stationed out there and stayed. And my mom's originally from there. She ended up moving out there. I have a brother who joined the military. I had another sister who went out there to become a movie star. And she's like, well, all my kids are going back home, so I'm going to move there, move my little sister out there. And now my little sister and my mom are in Mississippi, and I'm still in Southern California.
All right.
So how long did you serve?
4 years, 2 years active, 2 years reserve.
In what branch?
The Navy.
Oh, that's awesome. So did you like it?
I did. I thought I'd make a career out of it. And then, life has a funny way of showing you things. I wanted to be a nurse. That was always my plan. I wanted to go in the medical field. And now I just triage in real estate. It's a little different type of triage.
That's worse.
It is a different type.
A lot more blood
triage.
sometimes.
Yeah, a lot more blood, for sure.
Yeah. So it's fun.
A little crazy, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, tell us your story. Like, how did you pick real estate?
I didn't. It picked me,
okay.
Which is interesting. So I quit my job. After the military, I found this company called Kathy Jean Shoes. So I started in the shoe industry and decided that when I got married that I wanted to have a family, and retail was not the ideal place, to do that. And so I quit my job. I was going to go back to school. And the best man in our wedding actually worked for Realtor.com. At the time, it was Home Store. So this is back in 2003. They were doing a job fair, and he said, hey, I know you're not looking to work right now, but we're doing a job fair. If you come and interview, I make $500. I was like, great, $250 each. So, we'll split it. And, I started on the phones. I absolutely hated it because I was traveling and doing all kinds of fun stuff. And then I was in this cubicle and it was shrinking, and I was like, man, I just don't want to do this. So the day I went to give notice, I found out I was pregnant. So I'm like, well, it's probably not a good time to quit your job. And then, I had my first daughter. I got promoted while I was on maternity, which is very strange. And I came back running the worst, lowest performing team in the group, and brought that team to the top 5. And then a position came up to run the sales team. And so I ended up leaving as their vice president of inside sales. Okay. So to almost a little over 200 employees, 11 managers that reported. And then from there, I got recruited to go to Trulia when they were just starting. And actually, one of my sales reps left. She just was like, I'm moving to New York. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And she did, and she found Trulia, and then they needed someone to kind of run the West Coast of things. So she thought of me, and I had just had a baby. She was my second child. She was 2 weeks old. And I drove out to Vegas for the interview, and they hired me. And so I left, and then I was with Trulia for about almost 8 years. And then that's what brought me to NextHome. I met James and Tay, and the rest is history. So it was an accident.
Yeah, so
that's a lot. But I'll tell you the one thing I didn't know, Lonnie. I didn't know when you quit a job, they give you a pregnancy test.
I know. So weird.
I would think they just let you go. I've heard of people being walked out and all that.
It's the first time for everything. Actually, almost every single time I went to quit any job, I got promoted. Same thing when I was in retail. So it's just kind of funny how things is like, no, I have something to say. Okay, you go first. No, you go first. Yeah. And then they slide had the promotion over, and I'm like, man, I'm
So-
going to quit every day.
I was going to say, I feel like if I quit, Lonnie would just let me go.
don't know.
Okay, see you. I said,
I do have that reputation. Yeah.
That's funny.
we call Lonnie the hatchet man.
Yeah, well,
He comes across as such a nice guy. I've seen him fire people. They go in and they go in and he fires them and they come
and they
out
say thank you.
and they're hugging him and he's walking to their car and they're making plans to go see each other.
That's awesome.
And I said, so you didn't go through with it? Oh no, I cut them. They're done.
That's a sign of a good leader. That means that you did what they did, that they needed to do. So
That's funny. Well, tell us about NextHome. So
Yeah.
you've been with NextHome for a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm one of the originals. James convinced me without a brand, he came to me, he's like, I'm thinking of, Tay and I are looking to start this franchise. I was like, dude, the last thing this industry needs is another
Another one.
franchise. Can we just fix the ones we have? And, it was, I was interviewing for the job without knowing that I was interviewing for the job. I brought James in as part of the advisory board for Trulia, and we ended up becoming really good friends. And he was young and just very they would use the word, antagonistic, but he saw things that the rest of the leaders that have been in this industry, for what felt like 100 years. And he would bring in such a different perspective. And I wanted him to be part of us because we were disrupting the industry, right? Getting your listings from a book, from a book and the newspaper online, and so it was such an interesting thing. And so he had this idea, but couldn't tell me the name, didn't know anything, really just this idea. And then what I realized is, dealing with franchises for, the previous 14, 15 years of my career was every franchise said they were different, but they really all were the same. You just popped the hood and it was just a different color suit, right? Very old, outdated. And you think about, when we launched in 2014 and then really started selling and building momentum in 2015, January, the industry was thirsty. They, you can live without food, you can't live without water. And the industry was really thirsty for something different. And it was truly different. It was, creating a lot of these companies are real estate companies trying to be tech companies, and you'd have some of these big brands going, oh, we're a tech company. No, you're not.
No.
You really aren't. And these guys, Tay and James, they were tech guys. They were vendors. They created the first website, to be able to launch, 100 websites by a push of a button. And they really were and understood how tech was. And coming from the portal side, being a disruptor in the industry, and marrying both of those along with the other partners, is just a really interesting, young, dynamic group of people. And then James's vision of being able to see not just around that corner, but the two corners after is really, something that I was very, very excited about. What was interesting though, is I didn't say yes. It was the first time I asked my husband permission to take a job. I was like, this is more than just me. I need you to sit with my family and see my, when I started with NextHome and with these guys, my oldest daughter was 10 and my youngest was 5, and now they're 21 and 16. It was more than just me. You were getting, you had to I needed to make sure that my husband's a very good judge of character. And I tend to be very gullible with people. And I believe that what they say is what they're going to do. But my husband's really, really good. It's the nature of what he does for a living. And within 15 minutes, he pulled me to say, he's like, yeah, I support this.
But the thing is, so when you have the opportunity with somebody like James, what I love about James is just a lot. I just love the guy. He's not gonna pull any punches. He's going to be respectful, but he's going to tell you what he thinks, and what he thinks is spot on. But he has that technology background, that technical background. But he also is third generation real estate. So he's not that he dove into real estate, but he understands real estate. He understands how it affects families. He understands how the business works. He understands the tax structure. He understands everything about it. So when you bring those two together, that is what the industry needed. That's the franchise model that isn't just like the other models. And he was such a huge influence, even when we both worked for another company. Lonnie had introduced me to the idea. He says, "You've got to listen to this guy."
Yeah.
and we're listening to him, and we're talking about the class action lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
And James is like saying, "Hey guys, let's face the reality of what's happening here." And he called it from the beginning, and it really starts opening your minds to, there's always got to be a plan B, but but how are we going to embrace this and deal with it? Because as they connect the dots and we look dirty, how are we going to gain public trust? And you gain public trust by saying, if we're not doing it right, let's do it right. What does that look like? And let's move forward with that with public trust. Let's not fight and scream like a bunch of 2-year-olds. Let's get it done. And I just loved his perspective, his straightforwardness with it. And you could really get around, and he talks to you in a manner that anybody, even the consumer, could understand it. So I could see how your husband and you would embrace that and say, wow, what a breath of fresh air in this business.
Yeah. No, it was. And that's the thing is, we, especially in a sales environment, right? Like you feel like you're always having to sell. And with James, and he came from franchise sales. I mean, that's what he did, prior with Realty World, and him and Tay and one of the, the guy that owned the region. And so he, he's been in the trenches. He understands the dynamic of, taking a brokerage and bringing them into a different way of doing things. And what's interesting about James is, you always know what he's thinking because he tells you. And, it's something Keith says, it's like, he loves you enough to tell you the truth, but he's also going to guide you to be there. And, James and I have a great relationship. And it's funny because even in the dynamics of the way the company is now, I don't spend as much time with him as I'd like to.
Sure.
So I kind of get a little sad sometimes. And I'm like, listen, I need a one-on-one because I'm losing my mind here. And I need to feel that where we're going, where we were, where we are, and where we're going. Those are 3 different places. And how do we continue? Because when you think about NextHome, what our niche was the small to mid-size mom and pop. It was that the 80% of the market that no one really paid attention to, but collectively it was 80% of the market, 80% of the production, 80% of the volume, and the market share of agents. And so how could you bring people that were really wanted to stay boutique, wanted to stay small, and bring them in to be a part of something that they could leverage the scalability of a franchise, leverage the pricing and the tools and the tech and the training and the support, all the things that independent brokers struggle with. So that's definitely my biggest segment when we bring on people. They are the independents, right? They're small to mom and pop, agent teams, people that think they want to be a brokerage, then they realize they're broker, then they're agents, and then they realize they need to go back into sales or whatever, right? So it's a very, it's a hard part of the industry because it's that messy middle. But when you watch someone that really loves what they do and the passion of homeownership and the connection to their community and open their eyes to something so much bigger. Oftentimes what prevents people from success is themselves, is they put limitations on themselves. That's what I do. I like, am I good enough? And, the imposter syndrome, all the mental health things and all the words that people use these days, but it's real. And, so looking now and looking ahead of where we're going as a company is how can we attract these larger offices and these, some may say more mature brokerages, but in the reality, they're just the same. They're just as lost, just as confused. They want more of that networking. And I think what happens with the other franchise models is you get lost as a number. And most of the franchises, their customer is the investor.
Sure.
It's not the broker. It's not the client, because my client is, you two, right? You're my client, and your client is your agent, and your agent's client is the consumer.
So I think a decade ago, when you created NextHome, or you were part of that process, you probably had no idea that the industry would be where it is today, right?
I definitely didn't think we'd be going 20 years back talking about where data belongs.
I know, right?
Like, I can't believe we're still fighting that fight. But no, I mean, I couldn't imagine going through the lawsuits and now, taking, I mean, we have created the ability, our iPhone, and it's funny because I don't even have my phone with me. Those devices have created unlimited access. Mm-hmm. And to say that unlimited access is bad, and it can be bad. Mm-hmm. I have a 16-year-old daughter. It can be very bad, right? So you have to put bumpers on your children. But when you're looking at business, and what's interesting is the more data, the more tech, the more access, the closer we become to the consumer. And this thought of pulling it back, or this thought that, candidly, the lawsuits, they infuriate me. And I'm not really a big speaker of it because, I think there's more steering today after the lawsuits than there were before. And, you're blocking, candidly, some, not all, some are blocking their clients from seeing properties because they don't know what the compensation is. Like, you have to work for it. And I think that's the biggest shift is, you have to work in this. Work works. And I think we've gotten away from, working. My daughter is 21 and she's kind of starting her own little business, her own little sales business. And it's funny because she's interviewing kids that are her age, and she's still a kid, and kids that are younger. And she's like, Mom, I literally had a conversation with this guy. And in the interview, he said, I just want to make a lot of money and not do a lot of work. And I'm like, what is going on? Can I talk to your parents?
Well, that's 99% of them. Instant gratification.
Yeah.
If I have to get off the couch, I think I'm going to kill myself. It's just there's just no just work ethic
and grit
and say, something, I've got to see. It's like, it's like leadership. Leadership is a very lonely spot, especially when you're James and you guys on the initial platform of this thing. Leadership is seeing what will be there, knowing where you're going, and never actually getting there, because as you approach it, it's still there. So it's motivating a group of folks to understand we're going in the right direction. And as we meet milestones, we're still going in the right direction. You will see maybe what you saw, but now it's different. Now it's moving forward. There's a lot of leaders that are just caught up in the middle of this, and they just feel like they have to cater to, let's say, the agent, the masses, and all that to keep them on board, because they don't want them to move on. But they just don't have the vision. They don't have the vision. They're Sparky the fire dog. They're just putting out little fires all day long, putting out fires, and they go home and they say, "I worked a good day." Right. But a leader isn't an employee. A leader is a visionary, and they see it and they can implement it, and they motivate a workforce to go towards it.
Right.
And I think most of the leaders in our industry today, I think they're talking heads, and they really are afraid to take a stand one way or the other. I mean, I was sitting in a boardroom, a year and a half, well, almost 2 years now, right before the trial started for the lawsuit. And I'm sitting there with 15 other people. I was the only one in the room that said, is there a plan B? Because we're going to lose this thing.
Yeah.
The only one. No one could actually see beyond the way they have been doing things, for the last, 2 or 3 decades.
Yeah.
And so I think what we've experienced with NextHome is it's the alternative for us, right? We have leadership. So when I talk to James, when I talk to you, Jim, Keith, Tay, the leadership group, you guys you have the same vision that we do. That real estate can be different. It does not have to be constant turmoil, right? We don't have to have, 2 million agents out there. We can have less agents. We can provide better service. It's quality over quantity. It's using technology to leverage what we're doing, right? It's not technology is not, at the end of the day, going to make you good at what you do
Right.
as a real estate agent,
Right.
but it's going to help you with your relationship.
Right.
The relationship between technology with realtors is fascinating because, they've had success doing it the way they've always done it.
Uh-huh.
And so it's really hard to, I think just human nature in general, if it's working, why fix, if it's broke,
Why
if it's
learn
not broke,
something new? Yeah.
if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I think we just get stuck in, we get stuck. And when I talk to people, I used to travel around the country and I would speak to, hundreds or thousands of agents, whether it was in an office or in an amphitheater. And it was like, I'm not going to use tech. I'm afraid of tech. I don't use tech. And I'm like, you use a phone,
Mm-hmm.
you have power steering in your car, that's all tech. A pen is technology because we went from scratching, cement against cement to now ink, so when you think we do adopt it, but I think the challenge that most I believe our industry does. I think brokers do it. I think agents do it. I think it's a we got that syndrome.
Sure.
Instead of how does the technology that I do adopt, how does that work in the framework of my current business?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do I make sure that I leverage that for less screen time, more face time?
Mm-hmm.
And, when I talk to older agents, what I call the legacy agents, it's like, oh, well, I don't want technology. I've been doing this. I only have 5 years left in the business. Well, I look at technology and say, well, how are you going to sell your business
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know what is inside your business? You don't know that, you don't have a database of your
Mm-hmm.
clients. You don't know how much that database is worth. It's just scrolling through your iPhone or scrolling through a spreadsheet,
Sure.
as opposed to being able to find the right person
Mm-hmm.
to purchase your book of business. The Gold Handoff is one of the best books that I've ever read on that.
Yeah.
And the second, edition is out now. And it's like the plan for most realtors is retire when I expire,
Mm-hmm.
right? We were talking about this morning, and that should not be your plan.
No.
And so in order to be able to take your business and to continue to let that business run, you need to be able to have a system in place to hand that off to someone else and say, if you manage this business this way, and they can go in and segment the first-time home buyers, the investors, the families that are expanding, and all of those things are people that are moving in to the next phase of their life and selling their estate and going into, community center, the community living and things like that. So it's not that everyone should be leveraging technology, but technology, if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
you will be outpaced, you will be outworked.
You will be.
Because if I use technology in my business, I can do the same thing you're doing 10 times faster.
Mm-hmm.
And so time is money. And so it's just changing the conversation. NextHome was really, I believe, the first to have the fully automated integrated system.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't perfect, but it was way faster. Zip Realty actually did it first. Correct. And then when NRT purchased that company, it was the best lead gen system on the planet. And, they got it, but it took them like 10, 15, 14 years to integrate it. By the time they did, it was totally outdated.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to take tech and be able to evolve. We just unhitched our own very poorly built CRM and partnered with,
Mm-hmm.
Inside Real Estate with Bold Trail. And it is like pulling teeth, getting people to adopt a CRM.
Sure.
And I don't care if you use our CRM, just use something. The best system is the one you use, but it's no longer about tech. It's really no longer about brand, because if I don't like you, know you, and trust you, I don't care about your brand. I don't care about your tech. I don't care about anything, because this is still, it's still a human business. And I think that's our biggest differentiator as a company.
So we're talking about customer relation management with a CRM for the folks that don't hear that term all the time. But, I tell you where the biggest challenge is, the most dangerous words in business is we've always done it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And why you would still have a desk agent attached to a phone and it be the only person that wants to work to be the desk agent because they're the most inexperienced person getting potentially your best, hottest lead.
Right.
I have no clue. Mess it all up and say, if we know what we know today with real estate and technology, what company would we create today? And that's what I love about NextHome, because that's what you did. You said, forget about everything the way it is. What would we do if we started from scratch with everything that we know? And you created a franchise model where folks that, like Lonnie and I, could see that vision, could understand it, could be like-minded, and build underneath of that. And then you have that platform. The biggest challenge I can see for any franchise is when you have this huge mass of agents that can't embrace it. I can't tell you how many leadership seminars we've done in that you have a mass amount of people and most of them walk away and do nothing. So it has to employ the keep it extremely simple.
Yep.
And so basically the masses could actually use it immediately rather than, hey, we've got the best thing out there. But if nobody uses it, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's
exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the challenge, for brokers as well, is the adoption. I mean, we have a 74% adoption rate of our tools. And I think that speaks to trust.
Huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
But it speaks to trust to the system, right? I think, some of the biggest franchises, they've rolled tech and they have to roll it back. I'm like, I'm not Walmart. We don't roll back.
No.
Okay. Like when we roll it out, it's because it works. And then what you face is the complexities of it. And it's like, well, it's broken. No, it's not. You are.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's the CRM isn't broke. You are. Right. And I have a whole presentation on that, but it's just a way for you to stay. You cannot possibly stay in touch with every single person in your database on your own. And if a new prospect comes in, an opportunity, I don't like the word lead, but if a new opportunity comes in, you have to do 20 touches in 30 days.
Yeah.
You can't do that if you're working 10 new a day. Do the math. And every day more and more comes in. So you need a system, that allows you to kind of know where, instead of being reactive, we're a very reactive system, which is why it's like, oh, well, it's always worked this way, because we're reacting every single day to what comes in. And then every day, every month or every day, these people wake up and they're unemployed. They don't have a job.
Yeah.
Right. And then they have to go and instead of, and it's the chase all day long. And that can get very tiring. But, all the time people are like, what's the secret? We'll bring a top agent who does, bring net $1 million a year. She'll lay out her entire blueprint. We did this with Marky Lemon's Ryle. And she came out, laid her entire blueprint out of exactly what you need to do to make $1 million in this business.
Yeah.
And I don't think maybe one adopted one of the things that she does and put that in his business, and it's working. He gets listings off of it, gets referrals off of it. But it's like, there's no secret. It's just work. Get up and grind, but in a way that you have a direction and where you have to almost build your business backwards. And that's the other challenge, is you have all these entrepreneurs. You could have 50 agents in an office, and they all have 50 different goals. So how can you manage that and corral that into one vision underneath the company?
And one system so that every consumer has the same experience.
Because there's also a problem with having too much choice.
Yes.
If you walk into cheesecake, like I order the same thing every time because it's so
the menu
overwhelming.
is 20 pages.
Yeah. I don't need an encyclopedia to figure out what I'm going to eat for dinner tonight.
Cheesecake Factory is the worst.
Yeah. It's so
like,
crazy.
You say, okay, I've looked through it. What would you? I'm not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't
imagine the cooks in the back.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So we just overcomplicate some of the simplest things.
Absolutely.
If you really focus on what we do, it's home ownership. It's creating. I say there's two ways to serve your country. One is putting on the uniform, but the uniform just isn't a military uniform. It's a police officer. It's a doctor. It's a teacher. It's the McDonald's worker, right? It's the people that, bring the food from the farm to the table. Those are uniforms, right? And the second is, how do you help someone create home ownership and create generational wealth, especially for people that never in a million years, thought that, man, I'm going to own a piece of something in this country, because America's still the greatest place on the earth, regardless of what we might think.
And the greatest opportunity.
And such a great opportunity. Yeah. My husband's an immigrant. He came from South America with his family, and to see how far he's been able, he's come. And, you have our daughters, that we raise, and seeing, a working mother. I mean, when I met my husband, coming from South America, it's like the woman usually would stay home and take care of the kids. I was like, nope, not happening. You can stay home though, no problem. And his grandmother, she'd say, I don't think she's going to take care of you. I was like, oh no, we'll have dinner. We'll always have a clean house. Maybe not by me, and maybe not by 5:30, but it'll happen. And so, being able to I come from a single mother, who raised 4 kids on her own. And to know now that not only do I own real estate in one of the most expensive states in the country.
Yeah.
But it's possible. And to create that and to see my daughters have, kind of break that cycle and watch them be able to go into this world and create whatever they want. I mean, truly whatever they want. That's what we do. And the humans over houses is our philosophy, and being able to show the human side of what this business really is and telling those stories. I think that if we did more of that, the consumer, the DOJ, all of the people that want to come in here and disrupt and put their hands in an industry that they really know nothing about. And you could just pay attention to the interviews of some of the attorneys and some of the things that are even going on now. They don't even understand the transaction.
No.
And I know people that have been in this industry 30, 40 years that still don't understand the transaction either. So it's such a great opportunity that we have to be able to shepherd people through the life cycle of homeownership and what that actually means in this country.
No, that's that's the deal. And the programs that are available for someone to buy, it's not a lot of money down. And really, where the rubber meets the road is you've got to get that first place. You get that first place, and then you start gaining the equity, you start gaining the momentum, and then that gives you the leverage to really build.
Right.
The average homeowner net worth $415,000 compared to $10,400 for a renter. It's just the renter just can't get ahead, but the homeowner wouldn't get ahead if it meant they had to save money.
Right.
Sure.
They're getting ahead because the value continues to go up.
Right.
When they make their payment, just like a tenant would make a payment, the principal goes down, and that gap is their net worth. It's not what they saved in the meantime.
Right.
Now, they do get some tax advantages that a tenant doesn't get, which is going to save them on taxes, but they'll burn through that money too. It's that difference between what the property's worth and what they owe.
And so what's the difference between that renter and that homeowner? I think sometimes it's an agent or it's someone from the real estate industry who maybe they meet someone at a bar or at a restaurant and they talk about their experience and how they've built a portfolio, or maybe even, just bought their first home and how it changed their lives, right? Making that impact. And I think, to what you said earlier about, you wish the DOJ and some of these people would actually hear the stories. I mean, we as an industry probably need to do a better job of getting the story out there, but also understanding that we have an opportunity to impact people's lives.
Right.
And to have a conversation with those renters. We do a lot of property management, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do is build a portfolio of 500 doors with each brokerage location that we have. And the purpose isn't just to manage property and to take, phone calls of dripping faucets. I mean, the goal is...
Come on, Lonnie, that's so fun.
I know. But the goal is...
I know. It's your problem.
Yeah, we want those 500 tenants to be homeowners.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I take on a new property management account, I talk to the owner about, hey, this person is going to buy one day. And if we have the opportunity for this person to buy, we're going to do what we can to help buy them out of the lease or be able to replace them. And that's our goal. Our goal is not to put a tenant in your property for the next 20 years, right? We want to help those people. And then we want to help our investors. We want to help them continue to grow. And, maybe they're accidental landlords right now. But they have a conversation with Forrest or I or a member of our team, and they realize, hey, this could be a strategy for me. I'm going to put somebody in the house. They're going to help me pay my mortgage. I'm creating generational wealth. So I'm going to buy another one and do it again.
And we call it tenancy. We have a program called Tenancy to the Dream. So it's the loan programs. It's your credit score. Credit's free. Just manage it.
Right.
And it's how you're paid. You may be 1099, you may be W-2, you may drive for Uber, Lyft, you have a part-time job. It's all calculated differently. And the loan programs are huge on, basically by the time you put a upfront rent payment with the security deposit. There's a lot of loan programs, especially with a veteran,
Mhm.
where you can get into for less than that amount of money. People just don't know it.
Right.
And a great tenant is great for the landlord.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
A great tenant. So if they want to buy, if they aspire to buy, then they will be the best tenant.
Mhm.
And what does the landlord want? The best tenant.
Right.
What are the main reason people don't want to invest in real estate is because of the tenant. Well, what if you always had an A grade tenant
Mhm.
that aspired to move forward, and the best way to do that is to be a great tenant?
Mhm. Yeah. No, I also think when you think about the age of the buyer today, they were part of they saw their parents or their grandparents lose everything, right? And so it's that re-education of, well, we overextended, and this is what happens when you give free money, basically, right?
Sure.
So I think the best thing we can do as an industry is educate. The fact that a non-real estate company, well, at least 10 years ago, a non-real estate company is the number one place people shop for real estate. That was a challenge, right? And I love that side of the business. I started my career on that side of the business, that portal side. There's definitely value there to have someone that is, separate from the transaction. Maybe not today because their models have changed, but separate from the transaction to give people a free place to look and to identify where they want to live, and then be able to drive that into the local markets and then to the agent. But what we have to remember is real estate is like something like 30% of the GDP, right? And so you disrupt this, you're going to have big challenges. And if you look at when the market crashed last time, is when real estate crashed, the market crashed. So there's got to be a balance of pushing the industry forward. And we have to have people stop talking, like you said, talking heads about, all the ideas. Just do something.
Exactly.
Let's just do something. Maybe we're wrong. That's okay. But we're going to have a lot of learnings and be able to, fail forward. And I think that's, fuel sometimes can create paralysis. But for those that want to lead, fear becomes their fuel to get them to just go through it. And when you start to feel uncomfortable and you start to feel broken, that's when you're growing, right? And then you come out on the other side of that and say, okay, we did this right, but we did all these things wrong. So we know not to do that, but now we need to move forward. And so when you think about the evolution of the industry and the evolution of the realtor, you have to be full service, and you can't just say it. Like, you actually have to, like, I'm going to sit down with you at the table and we're going to do the purchase. We're going to have the insurance there. We're going to have everybody is sitting at the same table. And, you have to diversify your income as a brokerage in order to in those ancillary services is where you're going to make your money, whether it's property management. And then you have to take that money and reinvest it in the business.
Absolutely.
It can't go here. It's got to go in all the pockets. It can't just go into the business owner's pockets and be able to share that.
So our industry has changed quite a bit, and agents are looking for something different, right? There are a lot of agents right now with the market being a little crazy. They're probably looking for jobs. I don't know. A lot of them maybe should, right? Look for jobs. But I think they're looking for something different. They're looking for a different approach, right? So as a company, and maybe you don't even think of NextHome as the alternative. I mean, I've used that word several times today.
Yeah, and with me over the course of time.
Yeah, because I do really think that agents are looking for something different. Broker owners are looking for something different. And most importantly, consumers are looking for a different experience. So how do you see your role in bringing NextHome to the table and providing that?
Yeah. Where we are, I said it earlier, where we are, where we're going, and where we've been, those are different places. I think, finding the right people in the market that are willing to lean into the value of what we bring and the brand and the vision. The more we can do that, the more people will learn about us. We've only been around for 10 years. Coldwell Banker's been around since 1905, right? So, you have a lot of these companies that have years and years ahead of us in terms of, brand or, just experience. But what's interesting is this market is a market none of us have ever seen, ever. COVID obviously changed the trajectory of a lot of industries and really got us to rethink how we meet our clients. And, you're meeting people in their living rooms. Like, what other profession, other than like back in the day when you sold vacuums or, insurance and stuff like that. But, you're being invited into these people's homes. And so when I look at what NextHome is doing, it really isn't us. It's the owners. It's the agents that take our brand and take the vision that we had and then implement that locally. And then that creates more momentum in every market we're in. And we haven't even scratched the surface. I mean, you really think we're 6,500 agents. We're a little over 600 offices. And it's crazy to me that, I'm in it every day. So it's like, what do you mean you don't know about NextHome? And then, but the reality is there's still a lot of people that don't know about us. And I think a lot of that has to do with meeting the leaders in the market and getting them to see a different way.
Sure.
I don't sell people to NextHome. This is the first job that or it's not even a job, it's a career. This is the first, opportunity that I've had to get in front of people where I'm not selling. I'm asking questions. Every single one of the offices that we have, they found us. I do not outbound prospect. I do not pick up the phone. And so that'll shift. I do see that shifting because more people need to know about us.
Sure.
And I need to now start to identify the people. We've been around 10 years. If they don't know about us, then we need to go find them. Right. And so, but it really starts with the local broker and really showing the agents. I mean, you do something very different in your office than the other two offices that you guys have. And it's creating a new way of doing things where the split may feel high, but the agent's making more money than they've ever made because, it's like, that's why price doesn't matter. Everyone thinks it does. And I'm probably one of the most affordable franchises. So it's like, what do you mean? You're not going to stroke a check for 10 grand for a franchise? Like, that makes no sense to me. But the reality is people need more. And if they don't see the value in what we're doing, I can't change the trajectory of your mind. We have to have a conversation. And so for me, it's not about what I'm going to do. It's really about what can we do as a brand and the leaders in each market that we have. And how do I lean on you guys to say, hey, you work with these people in the market who deserves to be with us. And it seems arrogant, but I don't want every broker.
Exactly.
I don't always want the number one agent because the number one agent's a pain in the butt. And that's not a bad thing, but it's like, it's not about them. It's about the clients and how do we capture market share through a different way. And I think that the flexibility built into NextHome, sometimes too much flexibility is bad, right? Like you're too flexible, but just being able to try different paths and seeing what works. You can have 2-3 different companies in the same company and be able to do that. So I think it's really just finding the people in the market that really would seek change. And it's such a small change. It's not even a huge change because tech is not going to win anymore, right? Like everyone, if you don't have tech, you're not in this business, but it really comes to who can connect with the local community and embed themselves in with the community to the point where you're creating that trust. And then that will just snowball because people want to be where people are having fun. I don't have to talk about our culture. It's there. The orange dog is a funny little thing, but the reality is that's the first question people ask. I have that sticker on the back of my phone and I was, flying over here and this lady sitting next to me goes, what is the humans over houses and what is that little orange dog? Like, I don't understand. Right.
And what'd you say? Leave me alone.
No, I didn't. I was like, well, humans over houses. And that opens up the conversation. And instead of saying, hey, what do you do for a living?
Right.
Really? Like, and it's funny in real estate.
That's an East Coast thing.
Right. What do you, I know. It's like, what do you do for a living? Well, I used to be a teacher, but now I'm a realtor. Well, I didn't ask what you used to do. I want to know what you do now. And it's like, why are we embarrassed to say that we're in charge of the greatest transaction on planet Earth? And we're so afraid of that. So you have these secret agents. So what my brand does is it invites conversation. Conversation invites an opportunity to educate. And the education is where you get the transaction because now you're building trust. So I didn't even answer your question, but because I don't really have a straight arrow to that answer. But I know with the right people create and not being afraid to say, hey, I'm in real estate and I'm going to help you build, generational wealth that's going to let you retire and enjoy it, not retire when you expire. Because that is the plan of almost every realtor. I mean, Ebby Halliday, like one of the greatest legends in this industry out of Dallas, she's passed away and her company has been amazing. But her motto was work till you die. like sell real estate till you die. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sell franchises till I die.
Well, most of them have to, because they haven't, they're so busy in it. They haven't even created the exit plan. They're independent contractors. And if they don't sell their next house, they don't have the money coming in. They don't have the money coming in. They can't have a life that looks like retirement, a life that looks like enjoyment. I think the best franchise is when you take an agent in, a group in, and say, let's first understand how long you're going to have to do this. And then what it's going to provide you with the right moves. And let's make that goal. That's a 20-year goal. Then you're going to be retired, income producing assets, paying for everything. Now let's be the best we can inside that 20 years, because there's nothing more exhausting than thinking I've got 65 years and the day I'm looking forward to is the day I pass so I can stop working. That to me isn't a plan.
No.
No, it's crazy, but it's still the best industry, no matter what. And no matter what changes we need to make, I don't believe in staying still. No. Right? Like I'm changing every day. I'm, rethinking my health because I'm 47 and I'm like, I'm at halftime. I got 3 years. I'm at halftime. And I'm not even half, because the average woman doesn't live past the age of 82 anyway. So, but the idea is
You're not average.
I'm not average. I might be below average, actually. Don't go back to high school. No. But the thing is there's so much opportunity to reinvent ourselves. And I think the industry, those that are really here for the right reasons, the industry, we will evolve, and we will, I don't believe that we will ever Amazon cart a house. I just don't. I think COVID taught that. A friend of mine was looking on the East Coast, and she was moving out of the city, and they were going to move to like Connecticut or something. And it's like, we found the perfect house, and houses were flying off the shelves. Like, we need to make an offer. And her husband's like, I need to go walk the house. She's like, no. Like, we just need to we're going to lose the house. And they go to the house. And he walks in, he hits his forehead on the front door. So imagine if and he's like, I can't. So no 3D tour, 4D tour, no video, nothing will ever have prepared them for him hitting his forehead. Could you imagine? You buy that house and you're like, boom, every day.
Is it like in a tree? Because I've seen those little, like it's almost like a little elf house or something.
I don't know what it was. She just told me the story. I never saw the house, but it was like, the average consumer, like this is their home. If it's an investor, they'll buy 30 houses without looking. They don't care because they can.
It's a numbers.
It's a numbers thing. So I don't know. I believe in the industry. I believe in what we do. I believe in just the golden rule, which not many people believe in anymore. And if you do the right thing for the right people, it will continue to come back.
Absolutely. And,
trust and the ability to get the job done for the fiduciary of the client, right? That's our job. Like when I bring people into NextHome, I have to say no sometimes, or they say no to me. And it's, it's one of those things where it's just not a good fit. And my fiduciary at that point is, what you want to do, I don't think you can do here, but I can introduce you to 3 other companies, and I'll make a personal introduction because I don't think I'm going to be able to help your business. And I don't think you're going to help my business. And we're so afraid of losing the sale because we're so afraid of we're going to eat. But I believe that, I always say when I need to make, I always pray, and I never has God let me down. Right. And every single time I'm like, man, I want to get my next 12 months is really like, how do I get into these bigger offices? Right? How can I sit down and have a conversation with someone with 100, 200, 300 agents and find a way to get them to move to my next home, right? But it's not about me, it's about them, and being able to do that. And I was like, I don't have a pipeline for that. Because that's not my core business. And, I sit down and I pray and I say, okay, this is what I need. This is where I'm going to put my energy. And it's amazing what has happened over just in the last 30 days as we're looking about what is NextHome's next move look like? And how are we going to keep our core group and core, pay homage to the people that got us here. And then how do we then go in and say, okay, I can go and sit down with a 200, 300, 400 agent office. First of all, tell them they need to get rid of 70% of their agents because they're costing them money, but also be able to look at them and say, how can you come into my model? And my model's going to change. It changed this year. Getting rid of the 6% was huge because it's funny. No one does the math. 6% of 10 grand is $600. I could charge them an $8.95 transaction fee. I don't, but I could. And they would say yes. They would think it's a deal. But 6% is less.
Mhm.
But it's this weird mental math that we
Sure.
don't do.
Yeah.
And that's my job, is to show them the path forward. And so I don't know what's around the corner. I leave that to James and Keith and to Jim. But I know that whatever it is, I'll survive in that
Mhm.
because I've survived to this point
Yeah.
with duct tape and
I
and
think
some-
a little bit
a
more.
little bit of alcohol.
Yeah.
Not much anymore.
No.
Well, you
But
do a great job. And when you were talking about being an inside salesperson, I'm like, I just can't see Charis being an inside salesperson.
me either.
So
But I did it.
people are attracted to your energy and your,
Thank
your
you.
personality and your knowledge of the industry. So.
Say that louder so my husband
Yeah.
will hear it. And my kids.
I'll send them a note later.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
"Why, your husband and you've been together 28 years. Yeah, I travel. That's why.
That's great. Well,
Yeah, it's
we
awesome.
really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us. It means a lot. And I know our audience is really going to enjoy
Thank you.
the time.
And I love you guys.
your
You guys have
insight.
stretched my mind
Oh,
a lot
that's
in the
Good,
last
Charis.
couple years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the whole leadership team, as you've already mentioned them. It's like that whole group of people. You know, it's they all are learning from each other, and nobody. I don't think anybody that you mentioned thinks they have all the answers.
No.
They are, like you say, when I need a boost, I will contact somebody that can
Mhm.
give me that boost. I don't think I know it all.
Yeah.
And that's a true leader, is just the constant growth. And I think we have a core group of leaders
Mhm.
that do exactly that. You're just the same as the rest of them. Let's keep moving forward. Let's push forward. Let's be the changer in this market. And I think that's exactly what you guys are.
Thank you. And you're a part of it. We're that because of you guys too. So it's really important.
Thank you, Charles.
And I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate
Very
you.
welcome.
All right,
John?
thank
He's
Well,
gonna.
that was a fascinating conversation. That is a wrap for episode 15. I'm going to redo that. That was a fascinating conversation. That is a wrap for episode 15 of RE in Real Time. Make sure you follow us on all the podcast platforms, RE in Real Time, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, MySpace, any of those social media sites. You can catch RE in Real Time, and make sure you tune in for all of our upcoming episodes. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. MySpace.